Everybody, we are off to the races today. We're going to start off talking about the new developments in the Iowa Republican Party and also the Republican Party writ large. First off, the newest entrant. Let's get the drum rolls to the extent that we have them.
Here we go.
Yay! Hey, applause. That's great. It'll probably be one of the last applause lines that he hears. Donald Trump, famous for real estate and being rich and having a show and interesting hair, has declared that he's running for president in the Republican primary for the 2016 election. Boy, just when you thought it couldn't get any more fun on the Republican side.
Oh, yeah. It's like, honest to goodness, it's like Christ and the apostles. There's 12 apostles now, one of those.
Well, what do you, I mean?
Well, and they're all pandering. It's not even, trying to tweak your message so that you get more people. It's outright pandering to the Christian left. Or Christian right. It's just incredible. Anyway, yeah.
I thought Trump
I scared myself.
I thought Trump was doing that, but I get what you're saying.
All right.
Yep.
Now we had a discussion the last time. Can you bring in the camera on the phone there, Maddie? We were talking about who would get fired first. We have the answer. Maddie would be fired first.
No.
Can you read that? It says, "You're fired. You're too damn sexy." There you go. I think she would be the first out for strictly that reason.
And maybe one of us gets fired by the guy that pulls the strings around here.
What
I would say, but no, I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you this question because this ties into the straw poll pretty nicely. Because at the same time that Donald Trump, in my estimation, the least serious of the Republican candidates for the presidential nomination, at the same time, around the same time that's happening, one of the least serious predictors of the Republican nominating process, the Iowa straw poll, gets kiboshed by Republican leadership here in the state. Long been criticized, and in what I thought was a very interesting take on it, they said, hey, we're going to stop this because fundraising is great, but we really need to protect our first in the nation status, and this thing has kind of become a joke, so we're going to get rid of it. They came right out and said basically that. Is there? What is so? If the Republican Party, if the Iowa Republican Party is trying to get a little bit more, how would you say? What's another word for serious? I don't know.
Serious?
Something like that. They're trying to get more serious. What does it say about Donald Trump announcing, and how is he going to be received in Iowa?
Well, strangely enough, I think in part the reason that the straw poll got canned was because of the candidates themselves.
Nobody wanted to do it.
Yeah, nobody wanted to do it this time. In 2000, I believe it was 2011, Michelle Bachmann.
2008.
Well, I'm
sorry. Yeah, 2011. Yep. Michelle Bachmann won the thing.
Won it, hands down. And it does predict how you can organize in Iowa. It does predict how the organization is at that time. But I believe you're right. It really doesn't predict how you're going to do because she got smashed at the caucuses.
She was out soon after that.
Yeah, that was an embarrassment, really. How do you have something that's supposed to be so important?
Well, now, for me, they pay for it. That's the thing. They're paying for votes.
Yeah, and I believe, that's great. It's a great fundraiser for the GOP. But I believe what has gone on, and this happened, remember Newt got beat by Rick Santorum?
Yes, I do.
There's a power broker. And that's Bob Vanderplaats. That's very simple. And what happened is they spent all this money at the straw poll, which really doesn't mean anything.
Nope.
Right? And then suddenly they get pounded at the caucuses.
So do you take it as the Iowa Republican Party trying to be a little bit more put together this time around, trying to maybe make sure that their hair is straightened and their mustache is combed?
Well, the thing is, the straw poll is basically the ultra hardcore Republican right. That's who shows up the straw poll. And then you have a lot of people out there who describe themselves as moderates. And I've introduced you to a couple, and you've said, man, they are really right wing.
Yep.
And they are. And those are the people that show up at the straw poll. The people that show up to the caucuses.
Who elected Santorum. So.
Yes.
Still pretty right.
But the trick is yeah, it might be right, but he delivered those votes after a deal with Santorum. I mean, that's just straightforward. But up until that time, you had a ton of moderates show up. As I was sitting in the caucuses, I saw a ton of people that I know had voted for Obama the last time around because they just couldn't tolerate having any more Republicans. They couldn't tolerate John McCain. They couldn't tolerate Romney. And they were in there going, we want somebody who's a little bit more represents us. And you had people in there that had voted for Obama. You had people in there that campaigned for Hillary going, you know what? I really am a moderate Republican. I'm here to be a Republican and for whatever reason. But the bottom line is yeah, Rick Santorum came on strong, but he faded right after that because, and the bottom line is a great fundraiser for Iowa, a great fundraiser for the GOP, but the candidates themselves have ruined it. I mean, it came down to, I'm going to take all the cash that I have, buy every vote that I can, and hopefully get some momentum. Well, in 2008, that was shown not to be true. 2010 was shown to be not to be true. 2012 was even worse. 2014, people did it out of obligation, but they didn't spend all that money. And particularly since at the time, well, you remember the Bierstadt and who's the other fella? The libertarian that was running the GOP at the time. They really alienated the
Spiker.
Yeah, Spiker.
Yeah.
They really alienated a lot of the candidates. And then this year, you have the big candidates going, I'm not going to spend my money there. I'm happy to help support the GOP, but I'm not going to spend millions and millions of dollars doing it. And that's the decision, honestly, that they all made.
Well, I mean, your governor, our governor, Papateri, didn't like it, wanted it to be done away with, and I don't think that he'd liked it for a while. But see, you have expressed support for it in the past, as I think most, or even their head, or even one of the lead Republican strategists that I listen to that goes on Iowa Public Television all the time. His name I cannot remember for the life of me, but even the top level Republican strategists and commentators have expressed support for the straw poll. You got to support your team. I get that. But now that it's gone, it's not going to be a factor this election cycle. Is that a net plus? Or is the defense for it has always been, it's the first winnowing process. The straw poll is one of the early things that got Pawlenty out of the race back in 2011. Okay, that was one of the first tests where he saw, boy, I don't have any money, I don't have any people, I can't even get people to show up to eat my barbecue. He's gone. Is that valuable in a Republican Party that has this many candidates, or did the size ruin the straw poll?
That's a very good question. We'll address that right after this commercial break. Stay tuned. When we get back, we'll be talking about what really ruined the straw poll. Is it a good thing, a bad thing to have it done? And we'll talk more about Donald Trump. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back right after this break.